Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today I will be going over where I think the top free agents go and trades I think will happen this offseason. I'm not going over all the trades or all the free agent signings because I can use that for other videos and not make this one as long as it probably would have been. I got Von Miller leaving the Rams even though they just traded for him. I just think they really cannot afford it. So I think Von Miller is going to go to the Dolphins, a team that does need a pass rusher, for 2 years on a $40 million contract. And I just think they need an edge rusher to pair with Jalen Phillips. And I think Von Miller is the best scheme fit for the Dolphins because they like to rush their edge guys way more often than the Rams do because Von Miller is kind of splitting time in LA, sort of, with Leonard Floyd and Greg Gaines. So they're all kind of getting in a rotation. But I think he'd like to become a full-time player again. So, I mean, he still is good, but I don't really know if that's going to affect it too much. Jadeveon Clowney, I think he's going to go to the Bills. A projected deal for a 2-year, $15 million. The Bills just need a pass rusher to be able to actually pressure the quarterback, unlike what they've been able to do this season. I mean, Jerry Hughes has been decent, but that's kind of it. So I'd like to see more production out of them, and I think Jadeveon Clowney could do that. And I think he could also be a scheme fit for the Bills because the Bills like to just get those run stuffers, which is what Jadeveon Clowney is really, compared to pass rushers. So maybe he'll bring both to the table. And he might actually get a 2-year deal, which is pretty nice for him because I think he is looking to lock up a deal for a couple of years on some sort of team because he really hasn't had a deal locked up in a couple of years. So he'll obviously look to change that. Brandon Scherff to the Dolphins, a projected deal, 3-year, $45 million. The Dolphins just need to make a big splash in free agency and get O-linemen to actually get really good protection for Tua. And I think Brandon Scherff could have that happen, and that could lead to them getting a very good playoff push compared to some other teams that really I just don't think stand a chance for this to happen. So I really think that is a perfect fit for Brandon Scherff. Compared to, like, Cincinnati is just, they can't spend too much money on a guard. I can see a tackle, but just not a guard. But same thing with Miami. I think they can spend more money on a guard than a tackle because you can get so many veteran tackles compared to guards. It's different because guards like to get bigger contracts for a longer amount of time. And now, Teron Armstead, I think he'll go to the Bengals on a 3-year, $60 million deal, which would lock him up until he's 36, so he'd be pretty old by the time that contract's done. But, he would just be a great addition to the Bengals if he can continue to play left tackle. The Bengals would have to pay a premium for him, though, because there's going to be a big, probably, free agent war for him because he's so, one of a kind, and he's a franchise tackle, or was for the Saints, and now he's going to probably have to move on because the Saints don't have that much money. And I think they need the protection and for Joe Burrow, and I think they're going to have to bite the bullet on spending a lot of money, which they obviously do not want to do because they want to keep that money so they can end up paying some of these guys in a few years' time. But sometimes you just got to bite that bullet and spend money to make your team better now, to maybe even make a Super Bowl run, maybe. Allen Robinson to the Broncos. I have a projected deal, 2-year, $15 million, probably $10 million guaranteed, so he'd actually want to stay there, and probably like a $5 million signing bonus. So he'd get paid like $5 million a season, but he'd get 10 in his first season with the team, and he'd get 5 for that last season. So it would make the contract kind of weird, but, we don't really go into those details. The Broncos need a standout red zone threat, and I think that could be Allen Robinson. And after a bad season with the Bears, he should be cheap for a good receiver, and I think the Broncos sign him because of that. Like, he's a great jump ball in the red zone, like I said. And they don't really have that guy. I mean, maybe Jerry Jeudy evolves into that, but really you just got to focus on the guys that are purely a jump ball. He won't get as much playing time as he is with Chicago, but sometimes you kind of have to evolve and realize you're getting older and you need to slow down and not get in every single play, but still get used quite a bit. Chandler Jones, I think he'll go to the Colts. Projected deal, 2-year, $35 million roughly. I think he'd get a $10 million signing bonus, which would make it a lot of money, like $25 million in the first season, and then he'd only get 10 the next season, which would free the books for the Colts. And I think the Colts just need an edge rusher to pair with DeForest Buckner, which when he plays in the middle, so an edge rusher like Chandler Jones should make the Colts D-line pretty much unstoppable. And that'd be pretty nice, because I like watching the Colts. I like their defense. It's really fun to watch because they're physical and they can just get off the edge, get in the middle, get a sack. And I think Chandler Jones would be a great addition to that, and maybe even mentor Kwity Paye to become the future of the Colts pass rush. Chris Godwin, you see a little stretched out image there. That's not too good. But Chris Godwin to the Raiders, I have him projected a 5-year, $80 million deal. Chris Godwin has been a great receiver for the Bucs, but the Bucs might just need to move on and let him walk. And I think the Raiders are a perfect fit. And the reason I think the Bucs need to let him walk is there's so many good receivers in this draft, like Chris Olave. There's that one guy from Arkansas, I believe. I don't really remember his name, but I know there's Jahan Dotson. There's a lot of good receivers, and I think they'd bite a bullet on getting one of those guys for cheaper than what Chris Godwin probably wants. And I think they really just need to move on from him because he's going to really want a big contract. And they've already paid Mike Williams like $20 million a season. I don't think they can do that with Chris Godwin too. And the Raiders need a standout receiver. Hunter Renfrow and Bryan Edwards just aren't going to cut it for your franchise. So I think Chris Godwin goes there. Davante Adams to the Raiders, a projected deal, 4-year, $90 million. Davante Adams said himself he wants to play with Derek Carr because they played together at Fresno State. And if the Raiders can get both Davante and Godwin, they could be a serious contender in that division. Because Derek Carr would have great numbers because, first of all, Davante's going to get double covered, and that's going to leave Chris Godwin to get so much open, and then he'll eventually switch. And it's just a great team. And then you got Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake in the backfield, and Darren Waller, another threat. It would be just really good for them to be able to get both of these guys, obviously. That would create an unstoppable offense. And if they could just get good old linemen in the draft, then boom, you got a great season ahead of you. And I think Davante could go to Raiders, Washington, San Fran. I think those are the 3 options right now. Or wherever Rodgers goes. Tyrann Mathieu to the Steelers. I think a projected deal is a 3-year, $45 million deal. Tyrann Mathieu was very good in his tenure with the Chiefs. He slowed down this season, but I think the Steelers need strong safety, and Tyrann Mathieu would make that defense unstoppable. I think he's just willing to take some guaranteed money because he really has slowed down, and he kind of just needs to look at it this way. I need to get some more money, but I don't play at the best level. And I think, maybe like TJ Watt and that D-line could really help me this venture with the team. Stephon Gilmore. I have him going to the Chargers, 2-year, $28 million. Stephon Gilmore has been great. And the Chargers need to have an elite corner to pair with Asante Samuel Jr., so there's not too many reasons for him to go there, but I just think the Panthers won't want to keep him because they still got A.J. Boye, C.J. Henderson, J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson. I think it was just a 1-year rental for Gilmore, and that's going to lead to him going back to the AFC, going with the Chargers. And I think that's going to make the Chargers defense even more unstoppable, and there's another guy going to go there later in this video, and that secondary is gonna be elite. Akeem Hicks. I think you go to Seattle. I mean, a 2-year, $25 million deal seems fair. Give him 15 in the first season. Give him 10 in the second. So if he has a slow down progression, you can, dump off the books if you really needed to. Hicks has been a great run stuffer for the Bears. But the Bears, in my mind, just won't be able to keep him because Hicks has been frustrated with them and how they're not winning for the past few seasons. And he's just getting really mad. And Hicks would be great for Seattle because the Seahawks, they have run-stuffing problems and they'd be willing to pay a premium for a guy like Hicks to maybe even teach Poona Ford or something like that. I don't know if Poona Ford's still there because I don't really follow Seattle football. But I think he'd like to go in Seattle, and maybe Seattle gets a great package with Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson maybe leaving. Then they could get a bunch of picks and rebuild the team. And maybe, I don't know, just do good. And that could cause Seattle to get back in the race for the playoffs. Marcus Williams to the Chargers because I just think he's a good player. And this is the other Chargers guy. A 4-year, $44 million. It would be a great deal for the Chargers to spend most of their money on the secondary. The Chargers need to rebuild the secondary and rebuild it around Derwin James and Asante Samuel. And I think bringing in Marcus Williams would be great to complete the safety group, and bringing in Stephon Gilmore would complete the corner group, and that would just create an entirely dominant defense. So they just got the linebackers down. Boom. They got the best defense in football. And Marcus Williams has been known to make plays on occasion, but also let up big plays like the Minneapolis Miracle, where he dove way too early, but it was still a great moment. Jayon Brown, this is the last free agent signing I have till we go to the trades. Jayon Brown to Washington on a 3-year, $17 million, because Washington needs a good linebacker to mentor Jimmy Davis. So I think Jayon Brown would be a great fit to stop the run and stop people in coverage. I mean, he's been great for the Titans, and I think he'd want to improve and maybe get paid even a little bit more somewhere else. Even though he knows the scheme in Tennessee, I think he could stay there for way more years on the deal, but less pay. So I don't know if he'd really want to do that because he hasn't been an outstanding guy. But I don't know. I think him with Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb, and maybe even Troy Apke if he would move to linebacker instead of safety and corner, because he's so fast. Even though we ain't talking Madden here. But he'd be so fast, and maybe he would just buff up over the offseason. A-Rod. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded. I think it will be the Denver Broncos for 2 firsts, 2022 and a 2023 first, and 1 second-round pick, 2023, because I think the Broncos need to keep a little bit of capital in this year's draft because it's kind of deep at some positions that they need. And that would solve the Broncos' QB problems that they've had for a while. And A-Rod completely opens up the window for a Super Bowl. And I really think just the Broncos are a QB away. And I think those first-round picks, it's completely fine to get rid of those guys because they aren't proven talent, unlike Rodgers, who is proven talent and a proven Hall of Famer. Jimmy Garoppolo's tenure has ended in San Fran. And I think it's just going to end up having him be traded to Washington, a 2023 first-rounder. Washington needs a QB, and they just need one to ensure they don't fail to make the playoffs. And he needs to play at a great level to stay there, but they could draft him and replace him in 2 years. It's not like it's going to be that big of a deal. So I am completely fine with Garoppolo going there. I think it'd be a nice addition to them. And maybe make them have a competition for the division. And he could mentor Heineke maybe, but Heineke's already like 30, so they're like the same age, and it's not really going to help to mentor a guy that's already that old. So I think you could draft a quarterback in the next couple of years. Maybe you go with Kenny Pickett this year, but I don't know what the translation is there. Or Sam Howell or something. I think they could make a move for a quarterback, but end up trading for Garoppolo to mentor that guy for 2 years, which is pretty unreasonable. But then make that guy start for his last 2 years of his deal, and then if it doesn't work out, boom, get rid of him. James Bradbury, I think he'll go to the Jags. Keep in mind he is on the Giants. I think he'll go to the Jags for 2 second-round picks, a 2023 and a 2024, because I don't really think this year's draft is that special in terms of corner talent in the second round. Maybe you can find a deeper guy that's a great gem, but I think 2023, 2024, there could be great commits that go there. And I think that can ensure that the Giants can improve, and they need to start young again and get new corners to rebuild that secondary. And those 2 second-round picks could be traded for another proven talent. Maybe like a guy, maybe Marcus May to rebuild that safety group. Because maybe you get rid of Jabril Peppers. I know you could probably trade for, what's that guy's name from the Panthers? AJ Boye, I don't know. You need to get young at the position, so maybe even CJ Henderson. You really just need a ton of stuff there. Russell Wilson, I think he just needs a fresh start, and I think the Saints will be the best fit for him. I think 3 first-round picks, 2022 to 2024. I think he would just play good for the Saints. And that'd be a pretty good fit for him, because he would run that scheme like no other quarterback. Because Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0. I think he would even do even better. And that probably will end out the video here. And, maybe subscribe, leave a like if you made it this far. If you are watching, thank you for doing so, and maybe leave a comment if you think this is the type of content you would like to keep watching, and maybe give me some pointers on the channel. But see ya.